All right, I am Rajiv Satyal, and I'm sitting here with Dr. Deepak Chopra. It is my honor and privilege to be here at the Chopra Center in California. How are you doing?
I'm good.
That's great, and thank you for welcoming me in for this spontaneous interview. How lucky is this to drive down the 5 and end up at your place with your book that I have read. It is now a New York Times bestseller.
Yes, it is.
Is that right?
Yeah.
That's amazing, and I've read the book. It's phenomenal. I have a million questions, but we're going to, we'll conduct a more formal interview in the future. Right now, let's just jump in with some things that came to mind. First of all, why did you write the book?
Well, I've been teaching about consciousness for the last 35 years, and I've realized that 99.9999% of humanity is functioning as biological robots. They have no idea who they are. They don't know what they want. They don't have any idea about meaning or purpose in their life. And they're being triggered by people and circumstance into predictable outcomes. Now, I don't want to be condescending, but this is how the world is.
Sure.
We're living in a lunatic asylum, and many years ago I decided to pick up my visitor's badge and just watch the show because it would be very entertaining if it wasn't so heartbreaking. We have a world with ethnocentrism, racism, bigotry, hatred, prejudice, eco-destruction, extinction of species, poison in the food chain, mechanized death, atomic bombs, nuclear weapons, and basically we're screwed up. So I wrote the book more for sharing my ideas on how you could wake up to reality, because, there's a word in consciousness literature, zombie. So everybody's walking around like a zombie. And they're asleep. Even though they think they're awake, they're walking around in a deep sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And they're messing up their lives, and they're messing up this planet. And I have to say very honestly that sooner or later, the cosmos, because it's a conscious cosmos, may decide that the human experiment failed. The human species was an interesting experiment, and it failed.
So here's what's interesting. I remember when I interviewed you last time, you said, I'm going to say something I've never said before. And I got all excited. And you said that. You said the human experiment has failed. And that video was on YouTube, got a lot of views. How do we square the circle with the human experiment has failed, and at the same time, I watch your Facebook live feeds, I read your Twitter feeds, and one of the things that I've studied for years is desiderata, which says, no doubt the universe is unfolding as it should. So if the universe doesn't make mistakes, how do we square that circle with the human experiment failing?
I think we have to get rid of all constructs. Religious constructs, philosophical constructs, theological constructs, and even what we think is closest to the truth, scientific constructs, because scientific constructs are based on theories created in human consciousness, experiments designed in human consciousness, observations made in human consciousness without knowing what human consciousness is, without knowing how a system of thought gets created, without knowing who is doing the science. There's science, but then there's somebody who's doing the science and they don't know who they are. So obviously the science and the scientific story might be good for certain things. Technology, we're speaking to people.
Sure, right here we are right now.
But it may also create havoc. The next extinction, as I said, could be a gift of expanded capacities that come from science, but from scientists who don't know who they are.
Is that leading sort of the observer effect then? The fact that whenever we conduct these experiments called science, it's affected by the sort of the flawed or failed human being?
That's another story. So let me ask you something very simple.
Okay. The test. I didn't realize it was going to be a quiz, so hopefully I get it right.
So
okay.
What is this?
It is a book.
What is this?
A hand.
What is this?
A pen. 3 for 3. If you're keeping track. Okay.
So if I threw this to a baby who had never heard of the word pen,
Mm-hmm.
what did the baby do with it?
If you threw it at him, or if
give
you
it to
okay,
him.
yeah, because we wouldn't want to throw it at a baby, probably. Probably play with it, suck on it. Hopefully not get poisoned. That sort of thing.
The baby
Tear it
would
apart, smell it. Yeah, turn it, sense it.
Turn it, sense it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe rub its finger, see if it's a pleasant texture or not. So that's raw experience. Raw experience, which is in consciousness, is colors, textures, tastes, forms, and images and sensations, and then there's interpretation vaguely even before language, pleasant, unpleasant, tasty, untasty, and that would be similar experience with this book. Some awareness with sensations, images, feelings, thoughts.
Okay.
The same if I had this before a puppy.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So that's raw experience. Now humans have this amazing ability to give names and descriptions to modes of knowing and experience. So we can tell the baby, hey, this is a pen. This is a hand. But this is not your hand. This is Uncle Deepak's hand.
Sure.
Your hand is the one that seems to be attached to that thing, which we call the body.
An arm.
An
Sure.
arm.
Right.
So soon, the poor baby now also is given a name. You're Indian, you're male, you're Hindu, and this is the world, and this is a hand, and this is a body, and those things you're experiencing in your mind, or not even in mind, thoughts, that's your mind, and that thing out there is the universe. But all the baby had before that was sensations, images, feelings, and thoughts that are modifications of its awareness. What's a thought? It's a modified form of awareness. Okay. So
as soon as you can label something, then it's a thought.
then and also you've created a construct, a human construct. The fact that there's a body, mind, or universe is a human construct. Everything you can name, from bosons to Higgs particles and fields to galaxies and stars to a body, to a tree, to a giraffe. It's a human construct. A giraffe doesn't know it's called a giraffe. Okay.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, the
Yeah,
dog
keeps its neck
in
out of it.
Obama's White House.
Right.
Bo didn't know he was sitting in the Oval Office and that Obama was the president of a country.
Right.
Or important.
So he's like a Republican then.
Yes.
Yeah.
So now we've created stories around raw experience, and then the people who tell the best stories, they win. They become leaders. And it doesn't matter how violent the story is, if it resonates in the same level of consciousness, which is happening right now
Sure.
in the United States.
Yeah, that's a whole other topic.
If your conversation is stuck at the first chakra, then you will create that demographic and you'll enlist the people that support that idea, and suddenly that becomes the norm. When in fact, it's the psychopathology of the average, which we call the norm. So I wrote the book with the hope that some people would wake up to the fact that they're not the constructs, they are the consciousness, the awareness in which those constructs are created by agreement.
Right.
And as long as you are rushing to conform to the collective psychosis, then you're part of the psychosis. And you are contributing to the havoc in the world. So it's time to wake up. I don't know how many people will, but
well, if it's
so
a
be it.
New York Times bestseller, we're headed in the right direction, I would say, right? But the idea is that the universe doesn't exist without us, right? The idea that we're there
without consciousness.
Right.
Us, this body,
Right.
mind, or so-called body mind, is a process
Very
in
simple.
consciousness. It's a process in awareness. And awareness is not us. Us is in awareness. The body-mind is a process in awareness. You were a baby once upon a time, it was a different process. Okay, a teenager was a different process. So if you think you're a person, you're Indian, you're male, you're whatever label you've given yourself, you're screwed already to start with.
We've labeled it.
You've labeled it, and you've destroyed something that was infinite possibilities, infinite creativity, the whole fundamental basis of evolution, the consciousness of the universe itself, and sacrificed it for this identity squeezed into the volume of a body in the span of a lifetime. And so you're bamboozled.
I'm sorry I did that. I felt victim to it, I guess, but
It's been going on for thousands of years.
yeah.
The whole human condition has been recycling as what is called suffering and melodrama and hysteria and conflict for thousands of years. Only now we have modern capacities that far exceed anything we had in the past. It's in fact quite astonishing that some random act of violence hasn't pushed a nuclear weapon.
Well, yeah,
targeted
knock on wood. We maybe
caused
closer to
a
that than we
nuclear bomb.
know.
Don't want to give people ideas.
Yeah, I know. They have a lot of ideas. I know there are a lot of red buttons out there. But we'll have a lot of questions for you. And if anyone has questions, I know this is on your feed, but I'm at Funny Indian, and I have a list of questions, a litany of them that I want to go through, including a lot of questions about objective reality, because you blew my mind with the idea that there really is no objective reality. And
The only objective reality is consciousness itself,
Sure.
without which there would be no experience.
right. So that we got to spend a lot of time on that, and I think I think your experience is that your arm is getting tired. So we don't want to punish you too long. You're wonderful to record this on short notice. But if you have any questions, get in touch with me. I'd love to add your questions to my list because I have a lot to.
And
lot
add
to
your
go through.
questions, and we can go play pool. And
Yeah, we're gonna play a game. That's the whole idea. We're gonna play a game.
it's
What do you bring to
called
the table?
Cosmic Pool.
Cosmic pool. Yeah, we're the gene pool. Yeah, that'd be good. We have a lot of puns with pool. It's a lot of sticks. So that'll be good. So stay tuned for that. Hopefully that'll be coming soon. And thanks for letting me jump on your Facebook Live very spontaneously. That means a lot to me. I appreciate
Cheers.
it. Cheers.